Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Anime Watch Club, a bi-weekly group discussion and review where the hosts of the What Do You Say Anime podcast nominate and vote on shows either we haven't seen or shows that will hopefully lead to a great discussion. On today's episode, the tromboners of the What Do You Say Anime podcast will be reviewing the 2015 anime Sound Euphonium. Let's meet today's ensemble. First, from our horn section, he voted red because he can't stay away from his trumpet. We got Johnny. Johnny, how's it going?
How am I supposed to comment on that? You just start the episode with defamation, like.
Absolutely, I did.
You know what? You're absolutely right. Okay, I'm joking.
The tenor
I'm
sax man thrusting his hips into your heart. We got Kat. Kat, how's it going?
I'm doing great. Also, I just want to state to my friend Pat that the tenor sax is just a better version of the clarinet, the bass clarinet.
Seems like two very different instruments, but we'll go with it. Band manager and the voice of an angel. We got Rifle. Rifle, how's it going?
Oh yeah, I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. Woodwind leader, alto sax extraordinaire, and overall great guy. We got Miles. Miles, how's it going?
It's going great. Thank you so much, Pete. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. And Pat.
Yeah, the bass clarinetist never gets any love, and it's okay. You know, you got to let the prima donnas in the tenor sax section get all the attention because otherwise they just don't do their job. You know, they crash and burn, and there's nothing left in the aftermath. Just a lot of sound with no euphonium to it, right?
Ooh,
all right,
nice.
There we go. Wow, good job, Pat. That was great. Yes, we're. Great intro. We're going on to Sound Euphonium, the show that we nominated. I forget who nominated it in the first place. Probably Miles.
Miles.
It feels like a Miles show. Yeah, it is a Miles show. Of course it is. Because this is Miles's Watch Club. Done by Studio Kyoto Animation, who has done plenty of fantastic works such as Violet Evergarden, one of Miles' favorites.
Yes.
Silent Voice. Clanad, K-On!, Haruhi Suzumiya and everything, and a lot of other shows that people just love for good reason, for very good reason. But yeah, so this show aired in 2015 as well, so it's not, I believe it has a second season, and is it a follow-up movie on its way, or?
The movie's already out.
There's a third season on the way.
Oh, wow.
Kind of.
It's on Mal. It's listed on Mal.
It's not listed as a third season though. It's listed as like a what's it called? Like a Kumiko like side story of herself or something like that.
1 second.
Interesting. Well, while we do some Googling, I'll continue.
You're right.
Yeah, apparently they're able to make 3 seasons out of this. That's something. Good for them. Let's get right into it. Let's talk about our first impressions, like we always do. Spoiler free, first few episodes, what we knew about the show coming into it, yada yada yada. Miles, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, so this was my nomination. Shout out to my friend Sarah, who always told me to watch this, and I didn't because I thought it sounded so freaking boring. She likes like a lot of cute girls doing cute things kind of shows, and it's not exactly my cup of tea. But I'm here to try new things. So we nominated Sound Euphonium, and to my surprise, this show slaps. I was caught up like pretty quickly. I think the fact that it's so pretty and like well shot and directed and animated like really helps keep things that could be boring interesting, because you know, even if it's just a slow transition, the beautiful Kyoto animation, you know, really keeps you interested. So I really liked it for my first 3 episodes, and spoiler alert for the rest of the series. I thought it was just like a good, pleasant, happy time. The world's been a bit of a clusterfuck recently, as I'm sure we all know, and it was just nice to come down, watch something that's like pretty low stakes, but still has some stakes for people to triumph over. And I really liked it. I really enjoyed the show. I would recommend it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Imagine like reading this as a book; it would freaking suck. And then, sure enough, what's the source? It's a novel. So, So I don't know. I agree with you that the animation definitely and obviously the sound, the design, and everything else that goes into a show like this that's about music. You know, it's heavily focused on music. I think if it wasn't so good in those aspects or those fronts, it would have been very boring or hard to get through for me as well. But Kat, what do you think?
So I have been in music since I was like 3 years old. So uh, for me, music themed anime tends to kind of encapsulate me a bit, which can be a good thing or bad thing depending on how it's presented. And much to this show's delight, it did encapsulate me in a good way. It had a lot of like it just it mm, it gives me that feeling of being in like middle school or high school band again, because you get to feel that as soon as you go into like a middle school band and like everybody's like, oh yeah, we're just here to hang out, and then the band director's like a fucking hard ass. that is the that is the worst and simultaneously the best feeling in the world, and it just encapsulates that perfectly in my opinion, because like it's just so, we'll talk about it a little bit later, but uh the show just has a feeling of uh almost like the way that Pete says haiku kind of encapsulates that feeling of being in team sports again. This one encapsulates being in band again. And I would definitely recommend it, especially if you've ever been in band and like want to have that feeling again. This is a great show for you.
Yeah, that it does the band aspects extremely well. I gotta agree with that. Like I definitely was getting some flashbacks to when I was playing in high school and stuff, and just going through the struggles of a band on a daily basis or whatever. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool. Good, very good insight, Kat. All right, what about you, Johnny?
All right, yeah. So for me, I don't know if we talked about this, but 'cause, like we usually say like where we heard about the show, but like I haven't. This is my first time actually hearing about the show, and like looking into it, it's not really the type of show that I would like. If it wasn't for Watch Club, I wouldn't go out of my way to watch this, because even though I did do music as a kid, or it's still a bit now, is that I played piano, so I wasn't in a band. So like obviously like I don't have that same level of like relatability as many of you do from playing in bands. But I still went into it. Be like, I have a rough idea from like from seeing other people participate in band, and I thought this show was pretty good. It's like it seemed like a pretty accurate representation. I liked how like it shows you just like how much work it actually takes to like sound good, and like the dedication these people go through with like the bleeding fingers, like the lips being like really messed up and stuff. I think that was a really good representation of the show. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this, and it's pretty as hell because it's Korean animation.
Oh yeah, super pretty. I'm sure we'll be talking the entire time about it. Although I I have to say myself, I don't know how you guys feel, but this is probably my least favorite animated show from Kyoto Animation that I've watched. I don't know if that makes sense in the way that I just said it, but like out of them all, I like this one the least. But
I liked this more than A Silent Voice.
Wow.
okay, okay, wait, actually,
No,
I
no,
like
the animation of it
Oh,
specifically.
animation-
I was like, way to get canceled 5 minutes in.
Well, no,
Yeah.
so I was gonna say I agree with you about how maybe like the animation itself, but the design of the animation I liked in A Silent Voice more. Maybe you know what I mean, like with
Yeah. Now
like
the
I love the
fireworks
actors and stuff.
scene in A Silent Voice was better than anything in this, but I think on average this was better. There were a couple of moments that I want to touch on later that were like almost horror inspired, and I really loved those, but we can talk about those later.
Yeah, the
I'm
Chusha was
personally
really scary.
I'm personally shocked that you liked the horror
Yeah, did I
elements.
like the horror inspiration
Yeah,
part?
that's very that's off brand for you.
Yeah, it's not.
But also,
But
Pat, one more thing.
oh yeah,
Have
go
you
ahead.
seen
Sorry.
Pat? Have you seen Planad?
No, I have not.
No, yeah, that's
Okay,
a fair
well, see, that's killer animation.
yeah, you could
Yeah,
you could
that's
park a
fair.
If you
Tahoe
looked at
between the
that,
eyes
like,
on that show.
The eyes or
Yeah.
something else. Yeah, but I thought it was like liked anyways though, the animation, right? I don't know.
It's a style thing, but it's just, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. But I haven't seen it, so there you go. So that's why out of the stuff I've seen too, I should say. Or I thought I
Fair
said that, but
enough.
either way, that's irrelevant. We'll talk about that later, though. I definitely think that animation is an important thing to talk about with this show, and production value in general. But yes, Rifle, what have you got?
Yeah, so prior to Watch Club, I think I've seen the image that's on mail of it. I've never really wondered what it was. So I went into this, and I kind of agree with you, Pat. This is probably one of my least liked shows for Kyoto Animation.
Mhm.
I do understand the reasons why people liked it. For someone who's never even been in band, there were some aspects that I was intrigued by. Uh, Such like Johnny said, just them going through their bleeding or them going through the motions and all that. And I agree that was some interesting stuff. But later on, there was some dramatic elements that I just wasn't into.
Yeah, that you were kind of just like so just like removed from it that you didn't feel the tension or whatever. Is that more what you're saying,
I
or is
just
it
feel
just that you just didn't feel like they worked?
I feel like it just wasn't what I was looking for into the show. I wish it was more focused on the music and less of these dramatic stuff they did. And I'm sure we'll get into it later on in the show.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, no, we'll definitely talk about it, I'm sure. All right, and then lastly, Pete, what have you got?
This was my second time watching through Sound Euphonium, and to be honest, the first time I watched this show, I thought it was good. I had a good time watching it. I watched the second season as well and never got around to watching the movie. This time around, I found so many things that I just loved about this series that I missed the first time. I thought this was a spectacular storytelling of band, high school, like being like a girl in some aspects of like drama elements. I just thoroughly enjoyed this show. I thought it was a great ride. It was a very easy rewatch, and I would definitely recommend it to anybody kind of because it's a little moe, it's a little slice of lifey, but it kind of also has those elements of like drama and comedy and like companionship and friendship that I really look forward to in a lot of these shows. And I just thought it was beautiful. It was just beautiful the whole way through. Highly recommended. That's my 2 cents.
All right, and yeah, I don't have a lot to add on that wasn't said already. Again, a little bit Yuri baity I thought the show was, but not to the degree I guess I expected going in.
Yeah,
I
I would
expected it
love
to
to talk
be
about that. It was pretty much all concentrated in like 1.5 episodes.
yeah, it does the Yuri things where it holds a scene for too long or they
Yeah.
lock eyes for too long, but never like overtly like bait. You can argue that that's just dramatic tension, art direction, whatever. So again, it was never like a horrific offender. Other than those few, that episode was kind of sketch. But I expected it to be worse though too. I expected it to be so much worse with what very little knowledge I had coming into the
I
show.
expected like Love Live.
Yeah, Love Live or something where it's just all. I don't know. I didn't expect citrus, but I was like ready for it, or like bloom into you, like that kind of. Which of course those are actually
Well,
Yuri's,
yeah.
but still. I don't know though. The rest of it, everyone else touched on it really well. I think the animation is stunning. The music itself is really good too. I couldn't remember any of the songs if I had played them or not, but I definitely had recognized them from either hearing them from other pieces or.
You recognize Twinkle Twinkle Little Star?
No, it doesn't ring a bell. Damn, unlucky.
That would
But
have
yeah,
ended the movie Amadeus really early if the person didn't recognize Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Um,
I wish I got that reference.
That's a deep
Unfortunately,
cut
not.
right there.
Yeah, that's clearly. Man, I feel left out, but that's okay. Would I recommend this show though? Yeah, I think I could recommend it. It's just I don't know though. Like, was I that moved by it? Like that's where I'm sitting right now. Where I'm like I wasn't that like moved, but it was very pleasant to watch. There's no doubt about that. So I think I would recommend it if you're really into instruments, if really into music or something like that. But I wouldn't necessarily like say this is like a must watch, I guess, if that makes sense. But yeah, all right. Let's get into our spoiler section. So yeah, spoilers are on limits going forward. You are allowed to say whatever the hell you want. But yeah, so just be warned, and here we go. What is our first discussion point that we want to attack? Miles, do you have anything specific, or should we just jump right into the point that we were bringing up earlier with the animation? What do you want to do here?
Let's like get started establishing the characters and stuff first. Just like the general
Sure.
premise and everything, and then we can talk about more ancillary things, as fantastic as they were. So we follow high school freshman Kumiko, who plays the euphonium, which I thought was like a great choice for an instrument because it's very in the background, sort of, and like it's like a supporty one. I really liked that she wasn't Kosaka. Like, I liked that she wasn't the star of this, right? She wasn't sure how dedicated she was to all of this sort of thing. In a lot of these sports animes or something, I know that we were having like a teeny bit of a comparison to Haiku, even though they're very different shows. But you have Hinata, who, like, the only thing he's ever want to do his entire life is play volleyball, and is like dedicated to that. And like, even Yuri on Ice, where you have some doubt about the career continuing, that's after he was in Olympic trials. So like, that's just like a very different thing than I think everyone can relate to in high school, which is like, what clubs and hobbies and interests do you pursue?
Except me.
And except for Johnny,
Yeah.
who has never
Thanks,
asked
COVID.
that. So that is interesting. So they are at this school. It's like a mid-level band school, and the premise is that the group has decided they want to go for nationals. And so it's not going to be as fun and carefree as band was in previous years, because they're really going for it. I think that, and I would like to hear from other people, because I know Rifle particularly wasn't as invested in the character relationships and stuff. But I really liked them. I thought that everyone had like a very good rapport with each other. I thought it was interesting. Everyone had their own unique backgrounds and motivations, and those that played off or bounced off of each other. And I thought in a pretty realistic way. Does anybody have a thought on that?
Yes.
Okay, Kat.
So this is so, as I said in my intro, like this perfectly, in my mind, encapsulates being in a band again. This is one of the reasons why. It's because, like, for a lot of people, in my experience personally, like when I started in band, you had like all of these people that came into band that were gonna do like this, basically like a 2 week trial in band, where you would come every day during a certain time block and you would play or you would learn and stuff like that, just kind of getting you acclimated. Well, when people first start, they join with their friends and they start playing on the phone, and then you have people that have been in band for God knows how long, and then people who wanted to be in band but like never had been in band before, and then you start to see the people that join with their friends realize that this is real shit, and like they can't stay there, or they're gonna have to give like some actual effort, and then you see some people like change, and you see some people just straight up leave. This show kind of encapsulates that. It doesn't, and I didn't see it encapsulate the we've got to leave, because like this is not something that we can do, except for that one person, Aoi, I think is her name.
I think it's pronounced Owie. Is that it?
Ow.
Ow?
Ow.
It's
Okay.
Yowie.
Yes.
Yes. Yowie, she actually played the tenor sax, which is kind of odd for me, because I also played tenor sax, and I actually had this same kind of thing go on, because at the time I was in acting school. Like, I was actively in acting school while I was doing this, and I had to choose between the two. Turns out I left a different club. But anyway, that's besides the point. Uh, the thing is, this show has a lot of aspects that in other shows I like if this had taken a different approach would have not resonated at all with me, but because it did such a good job of adding each feature in, uh it it made it not only like relate to me, but it also made me uh enjoy watching it because it's almost like going through memories that aren't your own.
You get that hit of nostalgia, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Rifle. You were not as much of a fan of the more dramatic or personal relationships. Is that a correct assessment?
Yes.
Okay. So I wasn't in band in high school. I was in band for a few years in elementary and middle school. But like I found this a little bit reminiscent of like a lot less broy, but like being on my football team and stuff. Did you not? Because I know you played sports. Did you not get those vibes? What were your issues with that in general?
I think like again, some of them I think this was like one or two episodes. One of them was like the whole I didn't care about the whole best friend liking the other best friend part, the night
Mhm.
festival. I didn't really care about that storyline. I did find Reina and the main character under the stars pretty fine. The biggest thing that really ticked me off was near the end with the auditions when uh Reina gets the soloist job and the instructor or conductor, whoever, has already said, "Hey, you're gonna get this job." And someone blurts out, "You can't do this. This isn't fair." And they even blurt out in front of everyone, "You're playing favoritism." And that just really ticked me off. The fact that this person of higher authority has already laid out who's going to be the soloist, and you just step up and embarrass this person. I just feel
So,
like that. I just didn't like that.
I personally loved it because like that's like the shit high schoolers do. Like
Yeah.
this girl was a little gremlin because in Japanese culture the senior has to do, they have to live out their dream and all this stuff, and like it's something that I'm not super into in terms of like this, especially in like baseball anime. That's like a huge thing, but it's like the adolescence of being this child and making childish decisions. I personally thought it was just so well crafted, and like the second audition episode is like my favorite episode of the series. So I like that. I like that me and Rifle can play polar opposites of each other.
Well, I guess like I agree with Rifle, but like I didn't like it, and that was good. That was good for me because I was cheering, for Reina. Like I wanted her to win, and I wanted to see how the professor would handle that situation because fair or not, there was a lot of doubt about his leadership, and I think he did an amazing job, really. He said, "Okay, you don't think it's fair? Well, you guys can decide if it's fair." The only thing I didn't like about that second audition episode, Pete, and I'm curious if anyone else has any takes on this.
Yes.
The entire band, besides like 4 people, are cowards.
Yes, because you're a
Yes.
child and you're scared and you need to fit in, and it's not
Pick
cool.
a side.
It's not cool to be like, I don't know. It's like not cool to like be like the jerk, but it's not cool to be like on the opposite party, because I think most people wanted to just like have the drama dropped, and even though that their goal was to go to nationals, to me at some points it felt like it was more important. Even Sapphire says this. It was more important for like the tension to be dropped than to them to progress in their competition, because they're dumb kids, and I thought that made perfect sense in the story. I personally loved it.
So I don't know if you could believe this, Pete, but I was pretty opinionated as a high school.
What?
And
What?
You probably thought you were pretty smart as a high schooler too.
I did.
didn't
I
you?
probably thought I
Wow.
was smarter than I was. Um, and I will say, you can say all the mean things about Yuko that you want, about how she was being a little gremlin or a brat, but she had an opinion, damn it. And she fought for it.
She
and
did.
She clapped for her senpai.
I hope she falls down the stairs. That's all I'm saying.
Oh no.
So, I agree with that.
A few
I
stairs.
also-
A few stairs. A few stairs.
Like bruises her knee, maybe.
Like four.
Kat, you have something to say.
Like 4 stairs.
Okay.
I also have something to say about this because, like, I understand where both of you guys are coming from, and in a way, I hated it and loved it at the same time because because in high school, like Pete said, this has happened a lot, and I've been the villain because of this. Because, well, first of all, I live in a very racist place, and like I've been the villain because I'm black. So that's one thing. But another thing is that like I've had to like I've been better than the drummer that they had because I also played the drum. I still do play the drums actually, but I played the drums in my jazz band, and the regular drummer, he was a senior at the time, and he basically did the same thing. Well, his girlfriend at the time did the same thing that the gremlin did, and at that point, the fucking gremlin got her way. Even though I was obviously better.
Well,
Sorry.
we
Well, we
knew.
shouldn't call her the gremlin.
I
You're
mean,
good.
No,
Just
that's
go with it.
exactly what we should call her. Call a spade a
Yeah.
spade.
Did she wear a cute bow like Yuko though?
no, she just
Wasn't
got
she the girl with
trained.
the cute bow?
Gremlin then.
No, she just got run like a train though. Anyway, so the thing is, this show with that, like, it gave it a really, in a way, it almost felt like it was auxiliary, like it didn't really need to be there, but also and like I actually want to know your opinion about it, Johnny. Like in my experience, like that is one of the things about band or like team sports, like who gets the lead role, who gets to be the team captain, who gets to be the soloist, that
Who
type
starts?
of thing.
Who
Exactly.
starts? Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Like-
like, can I answer now?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, so like, I never participated in sports that much, but I can 100% see that because here's a funny story. So like, in high school, and this, keep in mind, this was nothing important. This was PE class, and then so like we were deciding teams for basketball, and like so like I think it was just random picks. So I just got decided as team captain out of nowhere. There's this really annoying kid that like nobody likes in our school. It's not bullying. He deserves it. But, like,
We'll unpack
Obviously.
that later. Continue with your story.
No. Trust me, okay? Like, anyways. So, like, we were picking teams. It was on an order. So, like, who goes on first, who goes on second, third, etc. So, like, the team captain decided to do that. So,
Who's
I
on
was
first?
judging.
Sorry. Bad joke.
I was judging it purely based on skill because like I've seen these people play a lot, so like I know how good they are. Trust me, I am absolutely terrible at basketball. I cannot like I.
Johnny, just
cannot
get to the
shoot a ball.
story.
Either way, this kid got mad at me for not picking him in the first lineup in PE class in gym. So much so that he wanted to fight me after school.
Yeah, so if
like,
that
I
is the type
completely
of thing
understand.
that high schoolers get upset about, they're going to be upset about not being the soloist, even though they used to be the best trumpeter in the band.
Exactly.
And then you have some punky freshman showing you up in a giant competition like that. I think that the reactions and stuff that people give are very true to life in all of this. And I think that is a plus of the show.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
very justified how people act in this show. It's like considering the situation they're in.
Was there a, I guess like a subplot that people liked the most? Like if it was that trumpeting thing or like Kumiko's trying to figure out if she loved the euphonium, the little like not happening romance arc with Hazuki and whatever that guy who was mean in middle school's name was.
I liked that one. I was gonna say that the
I
romance.
thought it was fine.
the romance being very lightly hinted at between Kumiko and the guy at the, especially in the last episode. I liked
Yes.
that. It was like very like, oh, you know, we get along now, or we still hit each other, but we're like cutesy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It was nice. I enjoyed that watching that because I'm a sap and like that. That's my kind of thing. But I think there was a lot of fun little things. I think all of the little side things were good additions to the story to keep it interesting. Because if they weren't going on, it would have been very one note. One note. God, I am so freaking clever. Oh God, anyone else have input before I keep talking and ruin my joke? Because that totally didn't already happen. Anyone, please.
Pat, I know you're tooting your horn a lot right now, but one thing that it's really subtle and it happened in the beginning, but I think it's something that I've only seen in this show was the call out of the girls with the lengths of their skirts. I thought was like a really interesting subplot, just with how these girls are entering high school for the first time, so they hike their skirts up to like look pretty, and then the teacher immediately calls them out, and then you see Kumiko like kind of like snark at them, but then she kind of like rolls her skirt down like she was doing the same thing. Like, I thought that was kind of cool. Like, I don't think I've ever seen that in anime, and it is kind of, it happened I think once or twice afterwards where like they're in the band room and they see the mean teacher come in and the girls immediately start like rolling down their skirts. I think it's like episode 3.
It happens in the last episode because Kumiko is more confident with who she is. She rolls her skirt back up.
Yeah.
And she wears the ponytail out.
Yeah. I thought that was just like a little subtle thing that I was just like, that's kind of cool.
So I went to Catholic school, and skirt lengths was a constant battle between the female students and the teachers. You know, you had to have it like below your knees or whatever, and then you know there was a big like pushing the boundaries of that sort of thing.
Knees are non-secular.
It's well, you know, Bishop Fian got to have 1 inch above their knees. Fuck Bishop Fian. They were our rival. They were much better than us at everything.
Yeah, but there were sluts who wore their skirts above their ankle or their knees. So.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So yeah, how salacious. But like I do think like I just think all of the mannerisms and stuff in this are like very true to high school for the most part.
Yeah.
You know, like it was just like that confession scene that's in at work, and then like that was like super real, right?
That was
like I
so
feel
well
like
done.
everyone's been there a time or two. The idiot boy who didn't realize that it was even going to happen because he's stupid. You know, I think we've all been there a time or two. Like, it's just, you know, it's very it's very well written. A lot of high school anime sort of upplays stuff because it's supposed to be silly or funny or anything, but I think this went for like a more dramatic, realistic approach, and I think it executed it very well.
I actually, for my subplot that I liked the most was actually it was really subtle until like it kind of like threw it in your face. The romance between in the bass section, Goto, the dude that plays the tuba, and his girlfriend, like there it was really hinted at. Well, it wasn't overtly hinted at, but like they would always be around each other. They would always be talking. They would always be like doing things, and also Asuka Sensei being very upfront, like during that episode where she's like, just fucking go out with it already. We already know. Like, there's always that one kid who does all of their work, but somehow knows everything that's going on in the school, no matter what. There's always that one fucking kid. And Asuka just felt like that kid, honestly. Plus Goto is like, he almost looks like that one kid that's always too nerdy. Just has the tape on his glasses, and
Goto reminds me of Pete a lot.
I knew you were gonna. You know what's fun? Okay, honestly, you know what the character I relate to the most is Asuka. We can talk about like characters later, but I think I relate to Asuka so much.
Is
But
it
yeah,
is it the like she's in love with her euphonium sort of thing? Like how you throw
herself.
yourself into your passions like that? Like is that
no? It's like, okay, so she's like a leader in a sense, like, but at the same time she's like very goofy, very glass half full, very nonchalant about stuff. But then there's like a scene where Kumiko's they're like kind of screwing around in the class, and she's like, "Don't waste my time," and then she like leaves and goes to practice. Where it's like,
yes.
there's like things like that where like I'm so anal about time, and that to me I was just like, yes, I'm the same way. Like, don't waste my time. I'm gonna go practice. Like, I want to do this. I want to be here, and I love like those character aspects of her that I relate to. But yeah, I mean, Goto's a big fat nerd, and guess what? So am I. So I get it.
I was gonna make a joke about how he looks like he wears clip-on sunglasses, and
Well, luckily oh shit! Oh,
Okay.
for audio only listeners, Kat put on clip on sunglasses.
I did not know those were a real thing. That's very cool.
yeah.
God, man, it's just
Oh,
just
goodness.
those privileged people who can see. You know, just
Oh, these are cheap.
Okay.
I thought that bit was going somewhere else.
Yeah. Do we want to move on a tiny bit to then some of the animation, yeah, and like the vibes? Because like I'd be happy to take the lead here, at least to start. So I think I made this joke with Miles earlier, but this show feels like it takes place on an Earth that's like 100 meters from the sun. Like there's so much lens flare, and everyone is so shiny as if they're just always sweating or glistening, and it's just like it's like anime girl, cute anime girl, whatever vibe to like the full extreme, and it's not like a complaint, but I think that's the reason why I like this the least out of all of the different Kyoto anime or animation films that I've seen, and everything animations that I've seen, because like it's so distracting in some scenes where it's just like, holy shit, there's like 10 different light particles like going on, and they're just, oh, they're so shiny. I don't know. I don't know how else to describe it. Did anyone else feel that way about the animation? Because again, it's like very pretty. But it just almost feels too pretty.
I feel like
if that
compared to
makes sense.
other Kyoto Animation productions, that their goal for this show wasn't to create like a stunning masterpiece in visuals. I was actually talking about this with Haz, and that we were just comparing the show that it's just a clean anime. It is well polished and everything like that, but it doesn't stand out like a Kyoto Animation does. And to me, that's kind of like how I was resonating with the show. There's the one like hair flip scene that Reina does in episode 5, I want to say. That was like
Yes.
breathtaking. And then there's like the other scene where they go up to the mountains. And I just think like,
Episode 8.
yeah, like Reina's like dress is just like so well designed and everything like that when it's like flowing in the wind. But to me, like it didn't seem like that this show was meant to be an animation staple for Kyoto Animation. That's kind of like the vibes I was getting.
I just want to note about that dress before we move on. I have a note that I wrote down while I was watching the show, and where Kyoko uh, fucking Kumiko.
Kosaka? Oh, okay.
Kumiko. Kumiko says she's got a Snow White dress on. Bitch, that's Snow White. That's light blue. That's all I wanted to say.
Very interesting observation.
That dialogue where Reina says that she likes pain, and then Kumiko says that's kind of hot.
Yeah.
I thought that was really funny. It like caught me off guard, because I don't know. I just feel like you don't see jokes like that a lot in like these sorts of things.
There were a lot of those jokes in this show, actually.
And yeah, I
Alright.
guess so.
Yeah. Like
But-
I wrote down a note about like a lot of the characters in this show being masochists.
yes.
Well, yeah, they play band.
Oh, there was some animation stuff that I wanted to highlight. The there is a scene, I forget what's happening, but like it goes like black and white, and then it has like drifting dust for like a second. It's not exactly black and white, but it's like grayscale. And it was when something like serious was happening, and I was like, did we just teleport into some horror anime? I had no idea what happened. And the episode where she gets called out for sucking at like whatever stanza on the euphonium, there's this part where she's practicing and it like shows a butterfly and stuff. And then after that it cuts to the butterfly caught in a spider web. And like twitching. And it was just, it seemed like very extra for a show like this.
I love that scene. I loved it so much.
It was so good. Like, because the whole scene really encapsulated what it feels like to get fucking called out when you're a kid by an adult.
That I had Vietnam flashbacks at that scene. I'm not even gonna lie.
Yeah. And then when she's going back to get her phone, her and Sensei are walking down the steps, but like the lights are flickering for some reason. Like it's like a horror movie. It was very interesting to me, and I don't know why they made those decisions, but I appreciated them. Rifle, I know that you said you did like some of the animation and stuff. Do you have any points to talk about here?
Not really. I think it just what I think Pete said. Everything just felt polished. Like the instruments themselves, they looked a lot more realistic than other animes. But I felt like, again, because of it being a Kyoto animation, there wasn't anything that really popped out for me. I think it was really good. It was well made. I just didn't have that moment where I'm like, oh, this is just hands down awesome.
Not even the Reina hair flip scene?
That was that was fine, but I didn't think that was just impressive.
That's interesting. For me too, like the instrument playing, obviously in this anime, when they're playing the instruments, is so much better than most other anime where, you know, you can't even see them like fingering the guitar properly or strumming to the right beat, whatever you want to say. Like, even in the final scene, there were a couple cuts, or the final performance of the season, there were a couple cuts where I was just like, that's not how a person looks when they play this instrument. You know, like I don't know. But then there were other ones that were really good. So like I was talking about this with Miles earlier too. Like the trumpets looked great. Like the fingering of the trumpets was really well done. But then they were just random. Like sometimes the percussion, them hitting the percussion instruments looked a little goofy. Not like horrible, you know, not like blatant CGI, you know, like at that level. But it still wasn't to the, again, maybe just Kyoto Animation has just built such a high expectation level for themselves. But yeah, I was just like, huh, that doesn't that didn't look normal, or that looked off. That's the way I felt about it. But you know, I brought up the two negatives about the animation, but I still think it looks really good. I just want to clarify that too. But go ahead.
I saw. So wait.
You go ahead.
Johnny, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I was. So like, I think the thing with this show is that like, you know how like, okay, this is gonna sound like a dumb comparison at first, but you know how like in shonen anime, when there's the one fight or that one piece of animation that you know is like that's where they spent all their
That's
time
where the budget went. Yeah.
Yes. This show doesn't have that kind of thing. Or like it doesn't really have that kind of thing. It just looks very good all around. So then what that does is like it sounds counterintuitive, but it's like if it always looks good, then you don't really notice it that much because like there's no drastic change in quality, which I think is what's happening here in the show because there's like, as you said, like there are one or two scenes like that, but there really isn't too much of that. Like there isn't like a sick animation scene where someone's like has a sick solo on the guitar for like 5 minutes straight, you know, kind of thing.
It's awesome though.
I mean, it'll be awesome, but like that kind of thing isn't in the show. That's not what the show's about. So I think that's where some of that might come from, where like there's not that one moment or that one scene that strikes out.
I actually want to comment on that because there were I know you guys didn't mention it, but I noticed like when they were switching from hand drawn to CGI, like during the marching band segment. So basically there was a whole thing about they were going to do even though they're a concert band, they were going to do marching band things with a lot of the other schools that are going to be in the competition later in the year. And they did a great job, first of all, but also like during the marching segments, if you like, it took me a minute because I thought they were doing hand drawn, and then it switched to, and then I like realized it was CGI because like the movement was a little bit slower, a little bit like not less FPS but less like it it looked like they had that perfect like movement and then they just kind of chopped it up, but it looked kind of weird, which is, you know, staple of CGI. But that was one scene that kind of threw me off a little bit. Also, like whenever they like moved out a little bit too far, the CGI was well done, but it was just a little bit jarring for me. But maybe that's just because I've watched CGI shows before.
I didn't
And I'm
even
not.
notice the CG, to
Yeah,
be
I'm
honest.
surprised you noticed because I'm usually really good at noticing these things.
Yeah.
There were a couple when they do like the big sweeping shots of the orchestra, and
Yeah,
they're like there's definitely the non-main characters that
Yeah.
have the CG
The
going a
CGI,
little bit, but again,
yeah.
it's very very
No,
minor. But I agree that
I
it's
didn't
there.
notice it at all. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention because usually I do. But
Mm-hmm.
or maybe it's just that they've done a good job. Who knows?
Yeah, well, it's a little bit of both, right? Like now that we pointed it out, you'll probably be able to see it,
Yeah,
but
I
like
mean,
yeah,
I'm sure if I go back and look at it, I might be able to figure it out.
I'd also, if you don't mind, I'd also like to talk about the sound design too, because you know,
Oh, yeah.
Sound Euphonium, which is, you know, it's a band show, and I kind of want to compare it to another Kyoto animation show, K-On, which is
Yeah.
light music club, stuff like that. Of course, different types of music, where one is more about like concert, the old masters, and another is more popular. Uh, the the thing about this show is that like if you're paying attention, you know like what instruments can sound like what. You can single out some of the shows, and as the band is progressing, you can really start to hear like what the band director is talking about. You hear like squeaking, of course, at first, which is kind of like the big culmination of like these guys suck. But then you also hear like a little bit of like wrong intonation, or he like even when he calls out Kimiko for sucking, like I actually had to, when I was watching it the first time, I stopped during that scene to roll it back to listen if there was actually sound design for that, and there was. She was like a little bit off base. She was a little bit offbeat, and like her toning was off because, you know, that's one of the things with brass instruments. Like they made sure if there was a discrepancy about an instrument, there would be some actual sound design that went along with it, and that was a perfect touch for me because it made it so much more realistic.
I really liked like in the first first episode when they first introduced the band or whatever, and she was sitting there and listening to them like do their little like welcome performance or whatever. I, being a trained ear as well, I was like, they have some mistakes, like they sound bad. And then sure enough, she sits there and is like, oh, they're terrible. That was another funny little subplot.
That was funny.
That was really
Yeah.
funny when she's like, and then she's on the girl's on the train later, and it's like, oh, you meant the marching bands or
Yeah,
the band is
band
terrible.
sucks.
Yeah, that had me rolling. But I liked that too. So like you mentioned that like there are moments where you can tell that they're playing poorly, or at least if you're paying attention and know what you're listening for, you can tell they're playing really poorly. I thought the sound design was probably the best part of the show. Because again, when I was sitting there listening to them play, and they cut to different instruments, I'd be like, oh yeah, that's the bassoon that I can hear. That's the that's the saxophone. There's the trumpet. There's the euphonium. Like all the different instruments. I was like, oh yeah, this is like I'm back in band class again, and I thought it was really really impressive. And I wonder if there's any sort of like, maybe not documentary, but like, I don't know, how they did it out there, where they say, oh yeah, we had the Kyoto National Band or something do these performances, or was it just some really talented musicians recording it together on like any given day? Like I just wonder if there's any like article or something out there, because I'm fascinated by it because it was so good.
I would love to look that up, but also that reminded me of the like even before that scene, because the reason why that scene happened to Kumiko was because the band director switched out the euphonium part, because it was a dedicated euphonium part, but then he switched it out to aid the contrabass. And the contrabass part was, it was made for the contrabass, but she was having trouble with it because it was more, there were quicker there were quicker transitions, and she had been practicing one part the whole time, and then it switched. And that, and also when I was listening to that, I actually switched it back again to like listen to the differences, and it did improve, and they did change the parts. It was great. It Because like the part before was a little bit rudimentary compared to the end product. So uh I just thought that was also really good design too.
I agree. Any other comments on sound design and,
So
and
this
themes in
is
general?
I enjoyed listening to you guys talk about this. It's not my wheelhouse, right? But like it sounds like, and from what I could tell, with like it's easy with like trumpets, right? There's 3 buttons and they do the little slidey thing, and like you can hear that changing. But it sounds like they really, with the whole ensemble, did like a pretty good job of differentiating in skill. For you guys with the more trained ear, how different did you find the 2 solos between the senior and Kosaka? Was Kosaka's like, because to me it sounded clearer and better, like I would agree, but how much better would you consider that? Because I couldn't
So
tell.
So the difference that I heard when I was listening to it, so the senior, she was a little bit more she seemed a little bit more flat, not in intonation.
Hmm.
She seemed flatter in sound volume. So like every note was the same volume. It was really good for like conserving her actual breath, but compared to Reina. Reina started off, when she started her solo, it like she actually crescendoed during the beginning. So the volume increased and it became a solo. Like you had highs and lows throughout her solo, while the
Okay. So
senior,
more dynamic.
yes,
Okay.
that's exactly the word I was thinking.
Yeah,
Fantastic. No, I feel that, right? Like I don't that makes a lot of sense. And I feel like they definitely did a good job displaying it in a way that like made me understand what was happening, even if I don't, necessarily have the trained ear to differentiate 2 people playing the trumpet, one at 100% skill and one at 85% skill.
right.
Like
Yeah, it's like versus like when you're watching someone golf, it's like obviously okay, the person who hits it on the fairway or hits it in the hole faster,
yeah,
or
yeah, that's
shorter strokes.
there's a lot more nuance to this. It's not,
Yeah,
yeah.
I agree that it was the dynamics and the like accentuation, I guess, was really the noticeable thing, like on the notes. That's what I would say as well from that scene specifically. But yeah, all right. Any other general comments about whether that's sound design or another talking point before we kind of keep moving on here? I
I
think
want to do
actually.
one brief talking point, and I wanted to talk
Plenty
to
of
you
time,
guys
so go ahead.
about. Okay, I want to talk to you guys about the drama aspects of the show, because I thought it was like honestly one of the best I've ever seen in anime, and I mean that. I thought everything, how it was drawn out and implemented in the story, made perfect sense. Whether it was ranging from the competition itself at towards the end, or them trying to do the auditions, and then prior to that, like deciding whether they wanted to go to nationals or if they just wanted to be like a like a casual band and stuff like that. To me, I felt like they implemented the comedy where the comedy needed to be, the drama where the drama needed to be, and etc. And I just want to get your guys' thoughts on that, because to me, it's like what made the show for me, like as a whole.
Yeah. So I'll be quick, Johnny. So
Okay.
I'll transition to you. I think that for me very much ties into the character dynamics I was talking about. I'm a little bit of a drama queen. I love it. So to me, like how that drama and everything played into why the characters seemed realistic, because I was talking about that sort of thing. So I completely agree with you, Johnny. Hit us.
Yeah, so like I agree with you that on paper the drama makes sense, obviously, and it's like it matters to the story and it affects how characters act and stuff like that. But I just think that this kind of show is just like the drama is kind of like on the side. So like you said, it was like, did you say it was the best drama you've ever seen?
I think it also, just for like what it was trying to do, like in the context of being a high school band, like anime story, I thought they implemented everything that I think a normal teenager would go through perfectly. I thought it was just like the dialogue was perfect, the situations that they were put into made perfect sense. I just thoroughly enjoyed the drama elements to it.
Yeah, but I just don't think it was like, so like I agree with you, maybe like the execution was like perfect and stuff, because like I can't really find too many flaws about it, but I think it's just like the outcome of it didn't really feel too rewarding for me. Like there wasn't this huge revelation, there wasn't like a massive change in like how the characters feel or anything, because like at the end of the drama, like none of the characters really changed too much. It's just more of like, oh, this thing happened, we moved on, okay, there we go.
Did we watch
There
the
was-
same show? Like, I feel like Cubiko like went through like this incredible transformation. Not only like, okay, like in her personal life, like you see that walks into like an environment where she is kind of like, because her sister failed at the euphonium, and then she set aside band to go to college, and then you see that she's always at home implementing that, like she flunked out of college.
You meant the whole show. I thought you just meant the part of the drama with like the.
No, I'm just talking about like the characters growing with the drama. Like I feel like
you meant just that one specific.
I feel
part.
like,
So, like
no, not. I'm just using an example, but like Kumiko, since she's the main character, I'm using her as an example of like how she went from episode 1 of being like, hey, I don't know if I want to do band anymore because I'm in high school. I'm gonna put my skirt up a little bit and then maybe be a high school girl, to being at the end of it, I want to be special too. Like, you see, she has like that defiant moment where like her sister and mom tell her like not to play. She's like, I love the euphonium, I'm going to play it in my room. And I just thought like that like it was really subtle for like, I think it was like a 3-second clip. It just like showed the growth of like who she is and what she wanted to be, like the individual aspects of her character. And I think that went through not just her, but I guess that's just one example for. I just thought like the growth was just exponential in some of these characters.
I agree. Obviously, like the characters do change. It's just that I felt like in this kind of show, the drama was, as you said, it's very subtle. It's in the background. It's not meant to be the main focus of the show. Where I feel like other shows where it is the focus, they probably make mistakes and stuff. But I feel like it's more rewarding when they conclude. And for this show, I just didn't really get that, which is like I'll get to it in my final point when we get to our final reviews. That like I didn't think the outcome of this show was really like that satisfying. It was just like, oh, this show happened, I saw it, it was a fun show, but like I didn't really feel anything after it was finished.
I think the highest tension I felt at the end was wait, did they actually get it or not? Right, like at the end when they're
if they were gonna kiss or not.
No.
Because they get gold, but gold doesn't necessarily mean you're advancing to nationals.
Right, because we learned that in the first episode, right? So that's why
Correct.
they're like, "Oh, they got gold, we got gold," and they're all celebrating or whatever, and they all have, their shocked face moment or whatever.
It, because like the last line of dialogue was like or something continues.
Yeah,
so, like,
well,
I think they won.
Yes, but my point was the
Yeah,
biggest
yeah, they
tension
won.
I had was for those like 30 seconds of them doing the cuts to every single character that God forbid you don't show a character you've shown on screen before, reacting to the final concluding moment. Like, and then they also did the thing where they like mute the person talking, and like don't let you hear them saying like who won. I don't know. I was just like, wow. I just sat here for 30 seconds wondering if they won or not, and like that's the most tense I had been the entire show in terms of like what was their performance going to be good or not? Were they going to make nationals, whatever. I just thought it was a goofy way to do it.
Well, see, I'll tell you why I like that real quick, because people had to. So it parallels the opening scene. Remember the opening scene where the middle school gets gold and everyone's happy they got gold, but they got like a dud gold because they didn't qualify for nationals. So they like met whatever mark was needed to be considered for nationals, but like didn't make that. And everyone was excited that they made gold, but Kosaka wasn't. So you had this moment where they get gold, and a lot of the girls are very excited, but you see that Kumiko and like Kosaka are still apprehensive in this until he announces who's made nationals, and like then they're excited and stuff. And I think it was good at showing how Kumiko's changed. I think it did a good job of showing that maybe some of the girls were still not expecting to make nationals, like Asako wasn't, right? Asuka wasn't. And like I think that was I just like it's cliche. You're not like wrong about that, right? But I do think that it even within the cliche, we were able to see character development and see people's feelings and stuff presented well within that scene.
That's fair. I was just sitting there like, really? This is what we're doing? Like, just tell me. Come on. Like, announce it. Like, let's go. Yeah, and then they did the cliche anime thing of just like, yep, and so our journey continues, fade to white, and then it was like, oh, okay.
OP plays.
Yeah,
But the
yeah.
OP plays, but with their like instruments or whatever, with the
Well,
ensemble.
in a string or
or
bass
brass or
ensemble,
whatever,
brass,
yeah.
whatever you want to call it. A wind ensemble is what that would probably be called.
I would also like to, and this is also a somewhat small talking point. Did everybody watch the OVA? Because I know that the first season is labeled on Mal as a 13 episode season, but there's also an OVA.
Yeah, I
Did you guys?
watched most of it. I haven't
I
quite
I
finished
didn't watch it.
5 minutes of it.
I've
Okay.
seen it, but I didn't rewatch it.
Yeah, and you, Pat?
I had not. No.
So I guess this is between basically all the people that watch it and remember most of it. So that it gave a good I feel like it gave a good I guess background of what the people who weren't in the main ensemble for the performance were doing, but also like it didn't carry over, and I think that actually it makes sense, but I also think it plays into like the the betterment of the show as a whole, because for me, comparing the way that the drama and the design improved over the show versus the OVA after finishing the show, it really shows like they were at this point when they started, and then they got cut, and it really made me kind of understand why they got cut, but also like it still felt kind of bittersweet while also being a bit of filler. Miles, what are your thoughts on the OVA?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I think that it very easily could have just like been an episode in the middle of the season or whatever. Because we go like back in time a bit. But I think it just like it helps highlight how like someone like Hazuki is still so happy about being in band during this time, even though she's not participating, or even more so how like Natsuki gets through. Someone who was older, a second year, decided she wanted to try hard, practice, but couldn't quite make up that time. Um, I liked it. The little community they had was good. I thought it was a pleasant watch. It wasn't like my favorite episode, and I get why it was more of an OVA because you're focusing on some of the secondary characters here. But I enjoyed it. I thought that it added to the Hibike Euphonium lore very well.
Yeah.
It's,
Pete, I also want to ask you if you if you have any strong thoughts about it. I know you didn't rewatch
It's
it.
an OVA. It's whatever. It's not canon, so it doesn't hold any. I don't know. It was fun. I remember on Mal I gave it a 9, so it must have been fun.
Hey. And Johnny, any strong thoughts about what you watched?
I already said most of the things about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, the OVA too.
Oh, I didn't watch the OVA.
I thought you watched like 5 minutes of it, but
Oh no, I didn't watch that. Was someone else.
It was me.
Rifle.
Honestly, at that point, I was just like, I didn't really care about the secondary characters. Why am I even watching this?
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Touche.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's move on to our closing thoughts, which will include best girl.
Can we do best boy also?
Yeah. Oh,
We
sorry.
have two
Best boy
boys.
too. Of course. Sorry. Best boy. I feel like best boy like goes to like one guy.
We have 2
but-
choices.
and like both of them are pretty good, but one of them is better. But yeah. Either way. Yeah. Let's
And
do that.
you also want to do
Let's
best
do-
character too, or what?
No, just best boy and girl can be your best character, and then yeah, your closing thoughts. So, Miles, why don't you start us off, including scores and stuff?
Yeah. So, I'm gonna just like power through some thoughts that I had real quick. I'm gonna talk about Kosaka's character. I thought she was like a really interesting addition to the show. She's definitely where like the Yuri bait reputation comes from, because there are like randomly 2 episodes where she is like really Yuri baity with Kumiko. She talks in like a different way than every other character. She like formulates words and sentences like uniquely. It's very weird and ethereal when she's on screen, and I liked that. Um, um, Hazuki, I think, is my favorite girl because she nicknamed her Tuba Chupacabra, and I'm a giant Chupacabra fan. Um, and any puns there related are good. I just liked her generally upbeat attitude. I liked the idea that she like really took to heart being like the support of the group, and like she said, like, like when she was like trying to deal with her own sadness about getting rejected, she's like, the Tubas are here to support their band. Like, it's like, she really tried to take that lesson to heart. I thought that was like really sweet and nice, and like a good. She had a good outlook on a tough situation for anyone to find themselves in high school. Best boy is very obviously Sensei Taki. I really liked how mean he was to everyone. Once they decided they wanted to go to nationals, like he was just like smiling but also eviscerating them verbally. And I just like appreciated it very much. A lot of the girls in the band were talking about how hot he was, and I get it because dude's a babe. So there was that like one girl who was like, I don't get it, and then everyone was like really flabbergasted by that. I think that might have been in the OVA though. And so overall, I very much enjoyed the show. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. And it was very close to a 9. I put it in my top 50. There's only one other 8 that I have that's ranked higher than it. So that is, it's very close to that line, but 8 out of 10, very much enjoyed it.
There you go. Nicely done. Nicely done. All right, Kat, what about you?
So I also want to knock out a few points that I didn't get to that really wouldn't warrant a full discussion. So there was one episode that like really encapsulated that like I'm in a band moment, and it's when Uh, it's when Kumiko, uh, Sapphire, and Hazuki were all doing like when Hazuki was trying to practice the tuba and practicing the same part over and over and over and over and over again, and like she was getting frustrated with it, but she was trying to keep herself motivated. And then Kumiko and Sapphire uh, decided to play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star with her. That was a really big moment for me for like the whole feeling of being in a band. It felt like just her getting back into like just her being inducted into the band as a actual player. Um, then let's see. Also, I was kind of confused about like why they had a marching band competition and there was no marching band for the school. But that was just kind of a small remark. And let's see. Also, when during the final uh concert for the band, when Reina gets her trumpet solo, like it almost well, the song raises her up, and like with her dueling against the euphoniums and the tubas. um she she got a great spotlight, and it almost made me cry because like just before they had the whole fight between the senior and Reina. But on to my final remarks. This show is one of my favorite shows of all time now. Actually, I've watched a good amount of anime, but this show, like, honestly, it relates to me more on a on an emotional level than like in the terms of team sports on an emotional level than haiku. And I share a lot of the same opinions about like with Pete on haiku. Um, and I think I have haiku at like a 9 maybe. But this show like it it just gave me a feeling like no other show has had, and the closest show, like I said, is Haiku. That gave me that feeling, and I really enjoyed it. This whole watch through was a treat. I watched it in one day and did not even have a moment of boredom, except for maybe the OVA, but it was an OVA. So, um, now my best girl, it is. Honestly, I would have to go with Kumiko because she's not exactly this Genki girl. She's not. She seems like more of a fleshed out character. Because I mean, she's the main character, but she seems more of a fleshed out character where where even though we're seeing the world from her eyes, we're not seeing them from this blank slate. We're seeing it from a person who has thoughts and feelings and experiences that are different. And I like how some of these experiences uh were not just like they weren't just like exposition dumped on you. Like they weren't completely explained and like you had to piece together throughout the show. Um I've really enjoyed that. And that's why she's my best girl. Best boy, honestly, I really like Taki, but also I really like Goto. And I I actually have to go to my gut to say I prefer Goto over Taki, even though Taki is uh a more constant in the show. Like he's almost like the antagonist in some of the episodes. Um and then for my final score, like I said, I really enjoyed the show. The show is a fucking treat. If you have the chance, watch it. Just watch it. Watch the first season in one day. It is actually, I think it's in my top 10, which I haven't put out my full my full like watch list of all the things that I've watched and how I've rated them and where they are in terms of each other. But this one is definitely in the top 10 because I'm giving it a 10.
Bam.
And for Cat.
Yes,
Alrighty.
sir. Let's go.
All
Yes,
right.
sir.
Johnny, bring that average down a little bit. What have you got?
Yeah, so I'm gonna give this one. No, I'm joking. Show is obviously very well animated. I really like the voice acting. Every like, objectively speaking, from a production point of view, almost everything is amazing. It's Kyoto animation. It's to be expected. But maybe partially because of my fault, and also because a whole pandemic happened, I unfortunately cannot relate to being in a band. So that's the issue with the show, is that I understand the points it's trying to make, and I understand why people like it, but I myself just can't relate to it because I've never had this experience. Therefore, the show just doesn't mean as much to me. And like, even though I can appreciate it for what it is, it's just at the end of the day, people have their tastes, and like, you try to be objective, but you know what you like and don't like. And I can't say I hate the show, but it's just not something I particularly indulge in. So yeah. So for my best girl, I'm gonna go with Asuka because she was just like, she was the kind of person where it's like she understands the social situation around her, but she doesn't go interfering with it because she knows that interfering with it will just make it worse for everyone. So like, she understands what's going on, but like, doesn't she? Like, she doesn't like go out of her way to like meddle in other people's affairs. When I can appreciate that. It's like, she'll help when they want help, but she's not gonna be there to like mess with people. And best boy is Taki, obviously, because okay, is it just me, or are all the music teachers like the meanest people imaginable? Like, is that just me, or is that just like a thing?
It's a
They need
lifetime
to
of being
be.
kept down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like,
but like, I genuinely understand it, because it's like, this kind of thing, there is no way of putting it lightly. You sound bad. There's nothing else to it.
Yeah,
You need
like
it's like, you need
and
more
ev-
practice. Just do better, honestly.
every music teacher is a music teacher too, because they're not good enough to play on the stage and at the professional level. So there you go. They're
either
all just super bitter. And don't,
That's
and they're
probably one of the reasons as well. But yeah, like, but
it's
like,
sarcasm for
he
those who
wasn't
aren't there,
mean
but
in a way to like put people down. He wasn't mean because he wanted to like inspire people. He wanted people to do better. It seemed like he genuinely cared about the students and how they wanted to improve. And you know what, like, honestly, like, I respect that. Like, just, it doesn't, like, your methods might be questionable, but like, you're trying your best to like get these kids to do what they love. And what, I can say that that's a really good thing that they're doing. So that aside, I will have to give this show a 7, because even though it is objectively very good, it's just not for me. And that's what it is at the end of the day. It's not the show's fault.
completely fair. Alrighty. Rifle, what about you?
Yeah, I think Johnny has really. I parallel to Johnny. I think my best girl is Asuka. I just loved her. She was like maybe one of the main fun things about this show, and I just like the teacher as well. I back in school, even though I was in band, I did meet the band director, and he was just a sarcastic person, and I loved it. Uh, Honestly, the show itself, there was nothing that really stood out for me, and like Johnny said, it didn't hit me because I just can't appreciate that music aspect. Anytime they had music, I wasn't like, oh, this these effects, they're really good. I'm just like, okay, they blew the horn, okay. So I couldn't appreciate what you guys had.
They
Like,
blew the horn. I'm sorry. That's just
go beat.
continue. Sorry. That was just funny. Go ahead.
yeah, so I just couldn't appreciate the value that was put into the show. I can't deny that it didn't have value, but the other thing was I couldn't really enjoy the show. All the characters, like you guys said, there was that development. Uh, it made them feel like kids at school, but I just didn't really care about them. Every time I was watching an episode, I'm like, this is so boring. Like, why am I even watching this? So I think originally I had this show at a 5, but I do agree the effects to the show was really good. It was well crafted, so I'd have to raise my score to a 6.
6. All right. Pete, what about you?
Fear not, people. The voice is here to enlighten everybody. Originally, when I watched this show, my best girl went to Asuka, and I still thoroughly enjoy Asuka as a character. I can't believe how much I relate to her. But lately, I've been into the characters that I just support the team, keeping like the positive light. You know, they're there for their homies. They love the homies. I'm going with Sapphire for my best girl. I loved her. I loved her.
Haz is doing cartwheels. He's excited now.
He's playing Elden Ring, so he doesn't
And what put it over the edge was at the end when they're getting ready for the competition, and she's like taping her hands to like essentially like a mummy, and then she's like, "No, it's fine. Like I like playing bass. Like it's not an issue for me." I don't know, something about that just like. This chick, she never
kind of metal.
Yeah, she never complained. Like the entire story, she was like when Kumiko got like ignored, or sorry, when she like got like, hey, how about we just have Asuka do the part and not you? And then immediately when they go find Kumiko, she's like, let's go eat. Like, come on, like let's go. Let me cheer you up. Like something about that's just like so great, and she was just a ball of sunshine every time she's on the screen. And she kind of had like the Kazuma, yes, I'm Kazuma bit where they call her Sapphire. She's like, it's meadery. I thought that joke got played like 5 times, laughed every time. Loved Sapphire. Now to the actual story. I loved the cast. I was every time that not even just the main cast, even like the side characters with like the president in Asuka, or the president and like the section leaders, and some of the talkie scenes and stuff like that, where I was just involved the entire time. I never lost concentration. I was hardly like checking my phone. I was involved. I was just in it the entire time. The friendship between Sapphire, Hazuki, and Kumiko felt so real, and that I think that's like a testament to great dialogue, great just writing in general, where these people don't feel like they are in a forced friendship, that these people feel like they're real friends. And in some slice of life, that's very like shown that these people are just forced to fill the trope and to be a group of friends. To me, they just felt like awesome, fantastic friends. Reina was a little like wishy-washy. I guess that's like my real only complaint, where like how she fit into the dynamic of the cast was a little like she's like the outcast a little bit, but I still thoroughly enjoyed her character. I loved her drive. I loved her ambition. I love that like when she's just like, yeah, if you want the solo spot, then just be better than me. Like, what's the problem? Like stuff like that was just so great. It's like I love that. This show, in terms of directing, sound, visuals, voice acting, even like the like OPs and EDs that we didn't talk to. I never skipped the ED. I thought the ED was so much fun. The 2T ED was just a blast. The OP just set the tone for the show. This show is so good. I loved it. I'm giving it a 10. Yes, I think the show is just fantastic. If you are a fan of Sound Euphonium, check out Kono Oto Tamare. Very similar style of a show. Instead of like an orchestra, it's a classical instrument called the koto. And it's just wonderful, and I think you'll thoroughly enjoy it if you like Sound Euphonium. 10 out of 10. 10 Bryan Adams. Let's go.
Let's fucking go. Oh, call back to Bryan Adams.
Did you know Bryan Adams wrote Twinkle Twinkle Little Star?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, because he was looking at heaven when he wrote it.
When he wrote Heaven is a place on earth.
Wow. Oh, baby. Do you know what that's worth?
Pat, what is this show worth for you?
It's worth a good amount. I think it. We pretty much touched on everything I wanted to talk about with it. I never got fully invested, and I think that's why I wasn't able to really give it a super high score. But I think on a technical level, the show is really well done. I think. I guess I don't have any other points, so I'll just go to best boy and girl before my final score. For me, best girl probably is Kumiko. I really enjoyed watching her grow and like figure out how she felt, whether she wanted to ever like it was cool to see that she saw her friends and saw the people that she cared about and was like, yeah, I'm gonna play again, because originally at the beginning of the show she's kind of like, I don't know if I'm gonna do it again, I'm not feeling it, whatever. But like it just took that one little snap of seeing like her closest friends and being motivated to start back up again. And I think that's something I could relate to a lot with sports and stuff. Like, well, maybe more for sports with me than playing an instrument, but at the same time, I do sometimes. I listen to a band play, and I'm like, damn, I miss playing the bass clarinet. I miss practicing with all my former classmates and stuff. Nice and early in the morning. So I don't know. I think that I related to her the most, and that's part of the reason why I think and also her being the main character, she got the most focus. So that's probably why I connected with her the best. Best boy, Taki. Shout out his voice actor who is in literally every show known to man ever, and he's got almost always has the best role in every show that he's in. It's kind of crazy. Takahiro Sakurai, like he has done.
He's Griffith.
Yes, he's Griffith. He's a lot of characters. I can't even remember. I was just sitting there looking.
He's your favorite character, Pete. He's Rengen.
Yeah, he's Rangan from Mob Psycho. He's
Good.
He's in Yona the Dawn as one of the main guys. Like, there's so many. Like, you just keep scrolling and you're like, oh shit, he's in another show I know, another show I know. Thought his voice actor was or I thought he did a really good job in this series too. So, shout out Taki in general too, because like it's a hard position to be in, to be for your job to be to tell people that they're not perfect and not have them hate themselves by the end of you doing so. It's very difficult, so I give him some credit. By a final score for me, I think again mainly because I think on a technical level I don't think I could see anyone ever giving this show less than like a 6, right? Because it's like objectively it's a solid show, both animation, sound design, character design, everything, voice acting, whatever you want to say. But for me, I'd say that this show is a 7 out of 10 because I didn't like seek out more of it. I didn't feel like I wanted to seek out more of it. I felt pretty content with where it ended. Like I don't know. I think a 7.5 is probably where I would have gone if we gave half points, but we don't do that around here because we're not cowards. So, yeah, I think I'm gonna go with a 7.
Except for Miles.
I am a coward, yes, but I am not so much of a coward that I would stoop to giving half points.
Yes, because that's the coward's way out. Exactly. And so when I do my little quick maths in my head, totally not on my calculator next to me, that brings us to a total score of an 8.00.
Wow, that's exact.
Isn't that coincidental?
Damn.
That is actually insane.
It's
awesome.
insane. It's
We're
insane.
literally directly on it.
Yeah, so thanks guys for stealing my thunder. The score on Mal is an 8.00 as well. So very coincidental. Pretty cool that we were able to do that. Good on yeah.
Just a bit of a callback. Like when we first started, like most of the shows that we did were almost spot on, if not already spot on. So that's a real callback to like what 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, we're approaching starting year 3, I think.
Yeah.
This is year 3 of the podcast, year 2 of Watch Club.
Yeah, we're approaching starting year 3 of Watch Club.
Yes.
Yeah.
Meaning we're approaching having done 2 years of Watch Club.
Yeah.
Shut up, Miles. Stop.
Like a normal human would.
Yeah, I know.
You guys confused the fuck out of me.
Well, Kat, you are the one who said it, so I was trying to make what you said make sense. I'm sorry for doing that, and next time I'll let you look like an idiot in front of all of our friends and family. Alrighty. That wraps up our discussion of Sound Euphonium. I think again we all agree that it was at least like a pretty cool show. Like technically it was a good show, and Kyoto Animation deserves all the credit in the world for doing that. Even if it wasn't our cup of tea or our taste in music, so maybe it's a better way to put that. Funny. All right, let's do our what nominations we had from last week, Miles. What are we watching on March the 21st, following good old St. Patty's Day weekend?
Please tell we're not watching Oreo.
You don't know that yet.
We don't know yet. I know, but we don't.
So in third place was Razafon.
Legacy points, baby, as always.
Ernie,
Rack 'em in.
It's third legacy. I'm gonna list the shows that didn't come real quick in anything. Classroom of the Elite, Nambaka 2, or Paranoia Agent.
Oh, that's surprising.
So there's 2 shows left.
Oh no.
Oh, you're adding
I'm
suspense.
happy with either one. So
There's
I'm fine.
Bunny Girl Senpai
Oh.
and Dorimo.
Miles is excited for either winner here.
Yeah.
He loves both.
I
of
have one I would prefer. One
Yeah.
seems like a hard 7 to me, and one seems like a Remo. In second place with 14 points, we have a Remo.
Yay!
So next time we will be watching Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai.
You know, I pegged my own show, so you know I'm fine with that.
I thought you were gonna say you pick yourself, and I was concerned.
Oh, yeah.
Pat,
All right.
how would you know?
Bonk,
Anywho,
everybody.
Let's continue.
Continue on with what we're doing for our next set of shows, or are we even revealing that, Pete? Because that's a problem. Are we not?
We are not, because next time what we would normally be voting on would be our April Fool's episode, and that's already set in stone.
We will be
Oh,
watching
God.
Twilight,
Yes, sir.
the first movie.
Okay, so my question was, are we
God.
revealing that or not? But I guess we
are.
are. So there we go.
It's only been an ongoing thing for like 9 months. Like,
Yeah, I thought it was a joke, and
Absolutely
we weren't gonna
not.
have to actually do that. So that's too bad. But you know what? We'll make do. We'll find a way to enjoy the good Batman in his prime.
The
Yeah.
only way that Nambaka 2 was gonna win was if we had another worst anime voting session. So it seems like it's another 12 months for me.
No,
It did as well as Paranoia Agent and
yeah, they all had
the
7
other one.
points.
I'm surprised Bunny Girl won because I feel like we've all seen it.
Bunny Girl was like a very hard. Like people were like, "That's my second place vote." Doing some Bunny Girl voting, like
Gotcha.
this is a safe vote for me.
Gotcha.
And so so
Yeah,
the
I
people
didn't-
who were like anti-Remo
all
also
voted
did
Bunny
that.
Girl.
The people who were pro-Remo also did that, and you just sort of had that
Now, how close was it, by the way?
1
1
point.
point.
Oh, wow, so I
Ooh.
literally changed the outcome.
Correct. If
Oh,
you
we
had
all
voted,
did.
No.
Everybody
for-
did. By the way.
Johnny voted
Yeah,
for
but, like, I voted
Bunny Girl
last.
Senpai first. And yeah, again, like Johnny gave me his vote yesterday, and it put Bunny Girl Senpai up from Remo. So
I was.
No, I'm not even that bad, honestly.
Was I the last vote today?
you were last or second to last? I can't remember.
Okay.
Cool. All right.
Yeah,
I
all right.
think we're done.
we don't get to have fun with nominations.
Not this time. We get to have fun with Twilight and Robert Pattinson and that one girl,
Kristen
and
Stewart,
Kristen
Bella
Stewart, and some Paramore, and
Haley Williams,
amazing.
Decode
Yeah,
coming
some-
in on the soundtrack.
oh, let's go Paramore.
My wife may sub in for me.
That's fine.
That's fine.
I'm gonna sub
Please.
in for me.
This is Rad Zodiac coming in big.
Yes.
Oshawott is gonna sub in for me next
So,
episode.
I think it's
Yeah.
gonna be like the 60th time I've seen Twilight, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, what do you have it at right now, Pete? Like an 8?
For nostalgia, a 10, overall like a 4, but we'll see. It could change.
I haven't seen it, so
Are
I'm
we
very
going?
curious.
Can we talk
for,
about
like-
the Mormon sub themes?
Sure, why not? We can talk about
it's a
anything.
really big. Okay, great. I have a whole thing that I want.
Oh, that sounds
we-
wonderful.
Are we looking at IMDb's rating system this time instead of Mal?
No, we're gonna look at we're gonna pick a random vampire show with a wheel and compare it to that.
I like that. I like that idea.
Yeah, and also no, it's our favorite anime here, so we're gonna rate it like it's an anime. Duh.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
Come on.
Let's see, what's the show called Twilight on now?
Vampire
Yeah.
Night, maybe?
Yeah, Vampire Night. That sounds like a good one.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with
There-
Vampire Night.
I don't. Mako seems like she might know.
I mean,
that's
yeah, Vampire Knight's a little weird in some points, so.
Yeah.
But that being said, I think we should wrap up Watch Club. If you've made it this far and you want to support the podcast, please like, comment, subscribe, leave a review, follow on whatever platform you're listening to us on. If you want to see our beautiful faces, we are on YouTube. If you don't want to see our beautiful faces, we are available anywhere podcasts can be found. Next week, we wrap up the finals of Anime March Madness. We are down to the Elite 8 of our Best Arc tournament. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then if you're here for Watch Club in 2 weeks, we will see you for Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.